Hello and welcome. This is a little slightly nerdy educational video in my 17 layers of clothing because I was doing fencing right before this about essentially, so this is an article written by Edinger. It is called the title, The Vocation of Depth Psychotherapy, I believe, or The Vocation of Psychotherapy, something like this. And it refers to, it kind of speaks to, the article itself is a lot more in depth than this video will be. But it talks a little bit about some of the archetypes associated with a therapist and the ways in which when we sort of see both the paradox and the parallels, I guess you could say, of each of these archetypes, it allows us to sort of stay. I would say it's almost like guardrails of integrity, perhaps, because it allows us to sort of see, like, okay, which of these three traditions was I trained in? Where are my strengths? Where are my limitations? Where might there be maybe sort of in the depth psychotherapy tradition, like a little bit of shadow or pieces where like it's my biases and different things are going to come up. So the three archetypes that Edinger refers to. So there's the physician slash healer, the philosopher slash scient, and the priest slash priestess. He uses a priest slash hierophant. I've never known how to say that word. I'm going to call it priest slash priestess. So each of these three archetypes, obviously, they are each very different from the other. Like if you were to think about a therapist who comes purely from the mindset and the framework of physician slash healer versus one priest slash priestess, you're going to get a completely different experience of the process of therapy. So, and the process of healing, whatever that looks like. Edinger lays out that each of these archetypes has a goal in terms of what their objective is and the method towards that goal. When you look at the physician slash healer, the goal is a cure, the method is treatment. When you look at the philosopher slash scientist, the goal is knowledge. So to know more intellectually through questioning, through dialogue, the method is dialogue. Priest slash priestess, the goal is redemption. So some sort of you could maybe put that in, this is like a less spiritual language, but like a type of freedom. The method is a revelation. So it comes to you through something almost outside of yourself, something mystical. And the idea with this, with what he's talking about, I'm not sure actually if it's a he or she, but what Edinger is talking about in this paper and what these three archetypes are representative of is for us as therapists to reflect on the fact that, like, okay, let's say I was trained in a more medical perspective. I would come probably primarily from the physician slash healer approach in terms of like, what's the issue? How do I cure it? How do I create a treatment plan in service of that? If I come from a philosopher scientist approach, someone's going to come in and we're having this dialogue, we're exploring meaning, we're exploring. So each of the different psychotherapeutic approaches are going to sort of lean more in one direction or another. But what this article is really talking about is like almost using these three archetypes in a way where I see it, at least in terms of when I've read it, like it's like we're striving for, of course, an ever moving, but we're striving for a sort of balance. It's like knowing my biases because there are, in my opinion, many roads home. And so if we look at these three archetypes, a therapist could fit into any which one, depending on the type of person you are and what you were trained in. So that's essentially what that article is about and what it really means. And it's primarily a reflective process, I would say, for therapists. But it could be helpful for clients as well in terms of when you're looking at, if you're seeking someone out, it can sort of allow you to judge and gauge like what might resonate for you the most in terms of what you're seeking or what you're looking for support with. Other piece that Edinger mentions, which is really important, two things. One is that this is all Edinger's perspective. This is not mine. I'm just making a video about it, A, to explain it, and B, because this article is actually not freely available online. And so I wanted to be able to explain some of the concepts, add in my little flavor. And so that because I think this information is really valuable. So two things. One, essentially as therapists, we are the idea, the point that he or she is conveying in this article is that we are none of these and all of them. Actually, I think that he says that we are a new entity. So like we are actually something different. I would say it's sort of that we are all of them and none of them, ideally speaking. Of course, that's not going to be 100% of the time. But another really important piece that's in this article that they speak to is that these archetypes are generated by the people that we're working with. So it's not that like I am a physician slash healer, I am a priestess, like it doesn't belong to me as the practitioner. This is just the projections also that can get put on us via the people that we're working with, which is like important to sort of be present to, as well as biases that we can hold based on our training. So that, I think, is everything that I wanted to include in this video. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it makes sense. Thank you for nerding out with me today. And I'll paste any information, citations, links, all that kind of stuff down below.